Agenda, and then we'll begin as a subcommittee, and we'll probably stop as soon as we find out if we have a quorum. But there are 3 items on consent, 5, 17, and 18. 2 items have been pulled. File item 7, Senate Bill 1191 by Senator Berryhill. Also pulled is file item 8, Senate Bill 1260 by Senator Allen. Do I have that correct? Is that all the update? All right. So I thought I saw Bob Wachowski sitting in the. Okay, come on down. Members, this is file item 2, Senate Bill 1020 by Senator Wachowski. It's on land use mitigation lands, and I know I've read through this and discussed my staff, potentially a work in progress or discussion or.
Yeah, we're learning more about letters of credits and bonding than one thought was possible for a special district. This is Senate Bill 1020. It's a district bill, and our goal is to create some flexibility for the East Bay Regional Park, whose sole mission is to protect open space. Now, first, I do want to accept the committee's amendments 1, 3, and 4. I'm not at the, I get the gist of 2, but at this time I do not want to accept committee amendment 2 as listed in the analysis. We're exploring, we just had an email today about letters of credits, the viability of trust funds and surety and performance bonds, but letters of credits operate in the same manner as endowments, and that's where we're exploring alternatives to endowments. So the bill represents, as the committee report indicates, a constructive dialogue amongst the parties and is pushing conversations between the State Department of Fish and Wildlife and the East Bay Parks to address the unintended consequences resulting from a stakeholder agreement relative to mitigation practice. Now, simply stated, the East Bay Park District is uniquely tasked as a primary steward of habitat lands throughout a bi-county region. Taxpayers and constituents hold them to that standard, but there are occasions when the district seeks taking permits for projects that promote passive recreation, and one example is the Trail for Wildlife viewing. Now, the State Department of Fish and Wildlife requires the district to, at times, acquire lands for mitigation. Only recently, however, has this district, a trusted habitat land manager, been required to lock up operational dollars in endowment accounts. Now, these dollars can never be touched and can never be used for ongoing operations to expand habitat, open space pursuits, or pay for biologists and other staff dedicated to enhancing the habitat values of the district's land. The Department of Fish and Wildlife has discretion, which is to find alternatives to endowments, but has sought to impose endowments on the East Bay Park districts. Now, the district is viewed as a leader not only statewide, but nationwide in habitat and land management practices, so much so that the Department of Fish and Wildlife entrusts this district to manage its own mitigation lands at times at local agency expense. In fact, the East Bay Park District manages both the department and units of the State Park District at local taxpayer expense. It seems counterintuitive to ask this local district to expend local funds for state projects, yet hamstring its ability to manage these lands. Worth noting, the chairman of the California Council of Land Trusts, an opponent of this bill, Linus Uckel, with John Muir Land Trust, supports Senate Bill 1020, reflecting an understanding and sympathy for the district's positions. We are not trying to unwind the good effort of those who worked hard to address mitigation practices, but we are working to encourage DWF in its authority to promote creativity in exercising endowment requirements, particularly if it undermines the ability of these agencies to promote good habitat work. I have with me Doug Houston and the East Bay Parks to speak on behalf.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members, and happy Tuesday. I wanted to thank the senator, committee members, and the staff for facilitating this important colloquy on the topic. And I also wanted to amplify on some of the comments made in the statement, as well as reflect in the analysis, that this is a work in progress. I've had, conversations with the opponents in the Nature Conservancy that I think are very constructive. I think we see a pathway to resolve this ultimately, but it's going to require a little bit of finesse. There is sympathy on both sides on this issue. So with me today is the Assistant General Manager with the East Bay Regional Park District, Bob Nesbitt, and he has some brief comments, and then we're free to.
Let's hear from him. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thanks again for having us today. So I would like to just underscore a few points that the senator made and why this is so important to us as a park and open space district. So we look at this bill as really good government for three reasons. And the first and foremost is the financial point. This is good financial effective government in our opinion, because when public dollars are locked away in an endowment, they're locked away forever. Endowments may be a good tool for private funds, and they're used for large amounts of private money, but for public taxpayer dollars, once they go into an endowment, we can't use those for anything else. They are locked away forever and can never be used in a productive way. So that's the first point. The second point of why we think it's good government and why we really narrowly define the bill is that we are a single-purpose district. We do one thing. We're not county government. We're not a city. We're not some other branch of state government, say. What we do is we manage parks and open space. We do exactly what the endowments are intended to generate revenue to do. That's what we do each and every day. We have 120,000 acres of open space. We have a staff of 700 people. We have 15 people who are scientists who are only devoted to protecting, preserving, and enhancing open space and critical habitat. So it's what we do on a regular basis. So from a financial perspective, putting that money away means we're not spending that money on what we do every day, what we're intended to do when we get these permits to do things to protect habitat. And then the third reason, we have heard, I guess, some arguments in opposition that this might have an adverse impact on others, and we don't believe it does. I mean, obviously, the trick with legislation is to hit that win-win, which is kind of a cliche.
I think that's the part you're going to really need to work on.
Yeah.
On if it's a precedent and.
We agree, and we believe it doesn't have an adverse impact on land trusts or other nonprofits who are also in this industry. The bill's narrowly defined for us, and it really does not impact what they do to hold easements, hold endowments at all, in our opinion. Thank you again very much for having us.
Thank you very much. Before I ask for other people who wish to add their name and affiliation in support up at the microphone, let's call the roll to establish a quorum.
Senators Pavley?
Here.
Stone? Allen? Hertzberg? Hueso? Jackson? Monning? Vidak? Volk?
Okay, we do have a quorum. All right. Anyone here wishing to add their name in support of this measure? Okay, opposition to this measure. There's several organizations listed. Perhaps the front row, unless there's more than two. Hello.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Pablo Garza with the Nature Conservancy. And I just want to start by saying we have a lot of respect for Senator Wieckowski and his leadership on any number of issues. And we also know East Bay Regional Park District very well and have partnered with them, and they're an excellent agency. So it is with a lot of regret that we are here in opposition today. I have been in touch with the sponsor, and we think there's some flexibility here and we want to continue the conversation with them. But just note that there was many years of effort put into this statute and this body of law around mitigation and endowments, and we are concerned about the precedent-setting nature of allowing flexibility in statute here. So we'll continue to have the conversation, understand the concern, and I think again we think very highly of both the author and the sponsor, just the bigger issue. Thank you.
That's why it's a work in progress. Anyone else wishing to add their name or affiliation in opposition to the bill? Yes.
Josh Hanthorn, Defenders of Wildlife. We're here to echo TNC's comments in opposition of the bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions by members? Senator Wachowski, I had just an observation on the suggested amendments number 2. I mean, you can leave them out now, but we're asking you to come back to this committee as you work through the process. Deleting the budget reserves could be problematic because that's volatile, goes up and down. How do you establish? That may not be the most stable source, and that's why staff had suggested that deleting that provision. I don't mind taking it out for now, but you know that's in addition to working out your differences with other people in regards to a precedent and how we mitigate and provide funds for that.
Yeah,
That'll be, you don't have to do it now. That'll need to be discussed in greater depth. Also, my staff, Mr. Craven, has volunteered to assist you in any of your negotiations because even though sometimes it's a district bill, there is precedent once you put it in statute that affects others, even if you would like to put walls around it. So that is the concerns. Any other questions by members? The chair's recommendation would be to allow this to move ahead, but knowing that it will probably be coming back to this committee, but it'll give you some space to have those discussions as needed. Yes, Senator Jackson?
Yes, I'd like to ask the opposition if they'd come forward. I have a question for them. And as you're coming forward, I share your concerns about setting a precedent. But I also see that there is some value to this particular effort. So the question is there anything that you could see as a way to protect against sort of the camel's nose under the tent, the proverbial expression we use around here when we start deviating from the absolute? Anything that would satisfy you that this would not essentially be that camel's nose under the tent, recognizing there is some value to what is being proposed. What could we do that would assuage your concerns, which I think there's some validity to? As soon as we start pushing, then there's a little more pushing, but there are some instances where there is value to that.
Sure. Thanks for the question. And I think the current statute allows for, I mean, you say the endowment is, we'd say the gold standard here, but it's not, I mean, there is flexibility and discretion at the agency or department to consider other options. And so I think that's what we'd like to have that conversation, to locking in the mitigation requirement. We've talked about letters of credit, surety bonds. I think they're proposing setting aside cash reserves. So I think we could have a constructive conversation about all those options and what makes the most sense in this particular situation. We're concerned about amending the statute to set that precedent more broadly. But I think there is, as our read of it is that the department has the flexibility to consider some alternatives here. And we'd like to have that discussion. So I don't know, hopefully that answers your question.
Then my discussion goes back to Senator Wachowski. Would this, do you agree that this is something that can and should be continued conversation in order to assure, and I know you share that concern, that we don't want to be blowing up what we know have been some longstanding and effective policies, even though there needs to be some flexibility. Would you be amenable to continuing that discussion?
Oh, I expect that we'll have some lively discussions going forward with the, not just the opposition, but with the department. I mean, there's I think everyone at the table shares the same outcomes. It's just how we get there. But yeah, we'll keep an open mind, and I'm just so concerned about my park district having to tie up all the money that could be used for good purposes, all the values, how they will spend it and how they've spent money over the last 80 years mirrors what the, environmental community would like to see districts do. So that we're on that same page. It's just the insurance, and that ties up the money as we're concerned with.
Madam Chair, is it correct that this bill will come back, that you would, all right, so I will follow the lead of the chair here.
The right to rehear it later.
Right. And urge that there be that discussion, because I think both sides I don't think either side is wrong here. So I look forward to that discussion happening. Thank you.
You had a comment? No. Okay. The bill's been moved twice. Senator Allen?
I just want to associate myself with Senator Jackson's comments. I understand that this is a negotiation in progress, and I see some of the slippery slope arguments being made by the opponents, but I also understand that your Park Service is a really exemplary track record over a long period of time, and I understand what you're trying to do. But I share some of the concerns of the opponents.
Madam Chair, I cautiously ask for everyone's support of this bill.
At this point, done. Okay, roll call, please, and it's to pass as amended. Other than that, the amendments are 1, 3, and 4.
Senators Pavley,
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Stone, Allen, Allen, aye. Hertzberg, Hueso, Hueso, aye. Jackson, Jackson, aye. Monning, Vidak, Vidak, aye. Wolk.
Okay, you have 5 votes, Senator Wachowski. That good news is that's enough that it passes, but we're going to leave the roll open for others that wish to add on. Senator Nielsen. Members, we're on file item Senate Bill 1026.